Welcome to True and Unpolished. Through this podcast, our intention is to uplift, amuse, and inspire you to create more of a life you'll love. Let's get authentic, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. So today, wow, I am excited / nervous to bring you this episode of True and Unpolished. We have a surprise guest. And I don't want to keep you in suspense for long, but I am also buying time, trying to consider if I really am going to let you listen to this. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I've decided I will let you listen. This episode is brought to you by Cusp Culture. Visit them online at cuspculture.com and get true and unpolished gear at cuspculture.com/shop. All right, take a listen, everybody.
Hey, everybody, it's Mary, and I am here with Lydia.
Hi.
And our surprise special guest. Lydia has her husband, Keith, with us.
Hello.
And, hey, Keith.
Hi, Mary. Glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here.
A long-time listener. Excited to...
Second time appear, because you did appear once
That's
before.
right, on the game show.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, I just wanted to tell y'all, everybody, that the reason that Lydia and Keith are here today is to talk a little bit more about their relationship. They were inspired to do this because it's just been a difficult time the last year and a half for people in navigating relationships. Relationships are difficult anyway, and so just kind of being able to for y'all to be courageous and show up in this way as an example of how to navigate this kind of relationship, which we would call a spiritual partnership or a soul-filled relationship that's focused on supporting each other's growth and doing it consciously. But none of us, whether we are truly committed to that path or not, none of us are going to do it perfectly. And so it's courageous to be able to kind of be willing to be vulnerable in this way. So,
it's interesting that you said that, because last night when we were talking, I was saying, I don't know that we're ready for this, and he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're not perfect yet. It's like we were talking about our story, and it's like, if you wait until you're a master at something, you'll just be waiting forever, because we're constantly growing. Like,
right.
So we're not here to say that we're like experts on relationships. We are here to say that we found a way that worked, and we were at a breaking point during the pandemic, and it was make or break time, and we made it, right?
Yes. That is very well put. I would have to agree with that. On a path of real growth and better understanding of each other.
And what is it that you all are doing? I mean, how are you making it?
So we went to a therapist first, through Zoom, and this therapist uses the Gottman method. And John Gottman did all kinds of research. I mean, he's got like 30 or 40 years of research, and it began with, like, he had this apartment, and he would have couples go into the apartment, and once they talked about an issue that that they were struggling with, he'd get them to talk about it, to essentially get them talking, and then he would look at their vitals. He would check blood pressure. He drew blood. He collected urine samples and saw what was going on in the body. And I mean, really, really put research into this stuff. And with 90% accuracy, he's come up with this questionnaire, essentially. And you give it to each member of the couple. And with 90% accuracy, he can tell if the couple is going to stay married or not. Stay married and be happy, stay married and be miserable, or divorce. He has a method, and the method includes worksheets. So we, when you're triggered, right? And what we found is that we were triggering each other. Like our mere presence was just triggering each other. And, so during this time where we were stuck indoors together, all of the issues that we'd kind of swept under the rug because we have a child with special needs. So we've tried to, we were really surviving for a long time. And now we were at this place of equilibrium and calm with our children in our home life. And what that did is it, being forced to be together all the time without breaks brought everything out. And so, yeah.
We've been together for 12 years, but never together like the last year.
Right.
We've spent a lot of time together the last year, and that really
and we had our son. I mean, we
It was
had
the
our son
hardest-
very early on in our relationship.
we realized that it was the hardest part of the COVID epidemic was to be isolated with and have a relationship
With each other.
with each other.
That's exactly right. But it was also the gift.
Oh, it's good you could laugh about that.
Oh, I know. And if you would have told us that we could laugh about that, would you have thought so?
No, it really took a new awareness and these wonderful tools that we've learned through therapy.
Yeah. And we talk to each other in a totally different way now. I mean, it's changed the way that we interact with one another. And one of the time, so last night we had a night without the boys. They went and did a sleepover, and it was the first time that we've been together, and it was just easy. We were talking, we were making dinner, we ate together. It was just seamless. And it was.
So how did that happen? You mentioned these worksheets and also.
Yeah. Well, that's how it happened is, so the last time before last night that we were at home together without the kids, we imploded because we were both, without voicing it to each other, we were both very stressed about this time because we were going to have 48 hours without the boys and each other. And it was a weekend, essentially. You know what I mean? It was holiday. And so
typically we would have just avoided
each other.
Probably ordered separate dinners or done something just to avoid the uncomfortableness.
Right.
For whatever reason it was.
Yeah.
There's like this underlying fear, maybe.
Yeah, anxiety.
I think it's anxiety based.
Yeah.
And now so what we realized is that we had new strategies after therapy on how to, because we wanted to be together. We wanted to figure this out and figure out how to be together. And
well, what I wanted, and I told him this from the beginning, I said, my intention and my knowing is that we're going to go on this therapy journey together. And one way or the other, we are either going to decide together that we stay together, or we are going to decide together that we don't. So it's going to be completely mutual. We realized is that, so we have this time together. We have this 48 hours together.
Right.
And what happens is we have misunderstanding after misunderstanding, and we fight, and this fight kind of just goes on, and we'll get to like moments of just kind of going to our corners, but then it is reignited. And, by 10 o'clock, we were both so just done with each other, and we separated. And I remembered, oh, wait a minute, we have a worksheet called Aftermath of a Fight.
This is really how we do things.
Yeah, now we get a worksheet. I mean, that's what we do. It's like, that's how we talk.
But it helps so many ways, and then it just it's a practice.
Yeah.
How does it help? Because what I imagine is that I would imagine like having to sit down with a partner like that would be very scary, very vulnerable. So,
Yes.
how does it help? Because I
Well,
can see
So
it
yeah,
not
all of this is scary and vulnerable and messy and it's
imperfect.
very imperfect, but it's very important. And it's mostly conversation, and it's mostly speaking from the heart and listening.
and building trust. See, what we
And-
needed was to build trust, because it's interesting that you say vulnerability, because I couldn't do it. Like when she gave us our first worksheet, I froze. And she even gave us a sheet and said, "Hey, we're not going to talk about any issue with the two of you, but you're each going to say something that's bothering you, like that's been annoying to you, or, but it doesn't have anything to do with the other one. And the other one doesn't know about it." And so I had this squeak in my car. And so I told the story of the squeak, and Keith told the story of the lumber prices because of the pandemic. And when we got to the bottom, we actually realized that there was an issue there. And mine was that I wanted partnership, and I felt like it was all on me to get this car. Should I take it in? Should I not? And after after that session, Keith actually like called the car place and got me the appointment and said, "Take it in." He said it'll only take 5 minutes for him to look at it. And but what we've
Well, what
learned,
do you do about the lumber prices?
I lowered them immediately
Yeah, she did.
because I'm a giver.
That's right.
I'm glad you asked.
Welcome.
So yeah, it's interesting that you say the vulnerable thing, because I really couldn't. It was hard for me to just sit and look at him, like look in his eyes like this, and face to face.
You can do that now.
Oh, I know.
That's great.
I know.
Congratulations.
I know. I know. Well, that's because I trust you.
You're doing it right now.
I know.
Wow. It's
It's
pretty cool.
it's because
Well,
I trust you.
okay, so I know that for me, I went through a divorce 7 years ago, and I was in a 20-year relationship. And so I imagine that some of this stuff may have helped in that relationship. Like I said, lots of people who are going through, challenging relationship issues right now because of the exact things that you described. And
Right.
I know my own relationship, which is a newer relationship, just over 2 years, that we're kind of trying to navigate midlife kind of thing. So we both had long-term marriages, long-term relationships. We both have children, and we're kind of trying to figure out, what we want as individuals, and also figuring out how that works together. So it's kind of navigating that newness too. So what have you learned that would be helpful for other people navigating this conscious path?
Well, first of all, one of the things that our intentions was to sometimes there's a stigma. I think there's a stigma attached to therapy. And one of our intentions through doing this was to say out loud and proud that, we go to therapy, and he has a therapist and I have a therapist and we have a therapist together. So I think that's first. The second is that the Gottman method, there's so much information out there that you can get. And what there is a science to this. This is research based stuff. And what I was trying to explain that about the time before last night where we were together for those 48 hours, and after, a night of fighting, me realizing, oh wait, we have this worksheet. I grabbed the worksheet. I said, "Are you willing to do this with me?" He said yes. And within 15 minutes it was done.
We've been practicing a number of worksheets now, so we don't have to pull the worksheets
Yeah,
out.
it's just the way we talk to each other. It's become the way that we speak.
It's really helped.
Yeah.
It's helped so much.
Yeah.
And I look forward.
Is there a way to find these worksheets?
So you can go to, if you Google Gottman, I don't know.
John
I-
Gottman,
I-
Dr. John Gottman has a website, and he actually has tons of resources on his website, as well as workshops and classes you can take.
Mhm.
We are taking a workshop through a local therapist that we're talking about that really
Yeah,
just worked
she's
well for us.
so
So
it's a
the-
certification you can get. So she, it's completely Gottman method stuff. And I mean, we graduated too. We were once a week and now we're once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So
The takeaway, what is the takeaway? You go to his website.
yeah, I think Google him and watch
Well,
his
don't take
video.
away just yet. I was
Oh,
just asking how people can find it.
Oh, good. Yeah. So go to Gottman, Google Gottman, go to YouTube, listen to one of his talks, and you'll hear it. You'll hear it. It will ring true within you. And
Okay.
then he's got resources on his website. But a Gottman therapist, you can literally look up a Gottman therapist, find one.
Okay. Okay. So therapy is a good thing. Resources from Gottman. Anything else?
Well, I think one of the keys was being willing to admit that we were at rock bottom, that it was make or break time. I think one of the things that we weren't saying, and it was the elephant in the room, which is this is
Well,
broken.
Yeah,
and we need help.
We needed help. We needed help because we needed a new way to talk to each other. We needed really to rebuild trust.
So I have some questions for y'all.
Okay.
And they're just kind of what have you learned kind of questions. So maybe these things can help other people and
Sure.
either kind of navigating relationships on their own or, encouraging therapy. So are you better at recognizing red flags, like when communication is going to break down before it happens than
Oh, we have red flags.
process?
Yeah, we do.
Mhm. And we have safe word. I mean, we don't have we did come up with a safe word, but we don't really have to use it anymore, because what happens is we have learned our own red flag. Like we call ourselves on it. And, one of us will say something and and go, oh, that was contempt. I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Yes.
I correct myself all the time.
Yeah. He'll say, I'm sorry, I was stonewalling,
What do you mean by contempt?
You want to explain contempt, or you want me to?
But yeah, I think you said something about there's 4 different
So
ways of reacting.
So Gottman calls them the 4 horsemen.
Yeah, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, because he said they're a dead sign. These are the signs that are in the marriages, those 90% of marriages that fail. The 4 predictor variables. Oh, yeah. Oh, that can predict with up to 90% accuracy the health and longevity of a relationship. Thank you, honey. He wrote that down.
I did write that down.
The 4 horsemen. It's criticism, contempt, and contempt is like superiority. So it's like, I'm right, I'm righteous, I'm right, you're wrong, like feeling superior to the other person. Defensiveness and stonewalling. And stonewalling is when you don't take what he calls bids.
I'll give you an example of stonewalling.
Okay, give me an example.
Stonewalling is you're not listening. You're pulling away from the conversation. You're basically not involved in the relationship in that moment.
Well, wait a minute. I want to say something about stonewalling. Can I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
So the thing is so he calls them bids. So for example, if your spouse walks into a room and you say, gosh, it's really hot out there, and the other person just doesn't respond, that's a bid that didn't get followed up on, right?
Okay.
And so over time, if you have enough of those times where somebody tried for connection and it failed, then stonewalling starts to happen. And it's considered stonewalling when you don't do the bid too.
It's like a piggy bank. It works like a piggy bank.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
It works
You
like a
take
piggy
Very
bank.
similar.
That's
money
right.
out when you're stonewalled, then money
Yes,
gets taken out. When you
yes,
pay
Yeah.
attention,
yes, yes.
acknowledge, then
And that's part of the
yeah.
trust rebuilding process that we did was through that and his recognition of his stonewalling behaviors whereas in the story he was telling, and that's what we've learned that um well
I was
can
guilty
you
of stonewalling, and I was also guilty of defensiveness.
defensiveness, yeah, I was guilty of contempt and I mean defensiveness to no, criticism. Would you say criticism? I mean, I'm sure we were guilty of all of them, but we've learned to recognize them,
So,
right?
so these are all behavioral
Yes.
uh, traits that we've developed in our relationship, and we just needed a new way,
New habits.
new habits, and new ways to behave.
Well, those,
Other,
I think that just even having those 4 things to be on the lookout for, and that is something where self-awareness is key.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I think I would imagine why you're part of the reason why you're both going to individual therapy is because you have to do that in order to recognize your own stuff
Yes.
in
Yes.
order to
Yes.
show up in a healthy way in the relationship. So, so I guess the next question would be, when do you feel supported? How can you support your partner? How can your partner feel supported by you?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right. So I would say that um, it is a process of how to talk. It is being willing to be a listener and not defend and not um, tell stories. It's first of all, and that's why I think the key is you really have to admit to each other out loud that what you're doing isn't working. That's
Well,
the first part.
so Lydia, when is a time that you personally feel supported?
Oh, when he listens to me and does the worksheet, the stressful conversations worksheet. And
so
really we don't
listening to
even
you, listening to your feelings,
yes.
and then asking you if you feel heard.
Yes.
I think that
Repeating it back to me. He
that-
repeats it back to me and he'll say, "Do you feel heard?" And if the answer is no, then I keep going. If the answer is yes, then he moves on and says, "What is this like for you? How does it feel? What's
I can
what's
ask
the
you if you
worst
want
case
advice.
scenario?" Yeah.
We can ask what the worst case scenario was from the situation, and it can mean anything. It can mean any story that you want to tell me, something that happened in your day or something that is more
Like
deep.
I went to therapy today and I want to share what happened there with Keith tonight. So we're going to do the questions to ask your partner. And it's that process. It's, letting me talk, him repeating what he heard and asking, do you feel understood yet? Understood is the key.
It's
And
creating a safe space to talk to each other without judgment.
yeah.
So, Keith, when do you feel supported?
When I can talk and I feel like Lydia has listened, and I know she heard me because
Mhm.
you'll ask me, and it's just the dialogue. It's just those simple questions that I feel so heard, and it gives me great support, and I feel like we're on the same page.
Well, and I can say too that what I was really guilty of was always trying to fix it. So he would tell me something, and I wouldn't ask if he wanted solutions or advice. I just gave solutions or advice.
Yeah.
So he was coming to me just to feel heard.
Super guilty of that too. Super guilty of that too.
Yeah, both of us were.
I
So
had
we've
to
learned.
fix it. Like, what am I going to do? How do I fix this? I just want her to be happy. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. But it's completely the opposite of what she needs.
Right. And for him too. So
For me too,
what
yeah.
we've learned is we both need the same things. We both
Right.
want the same thing. And
I think I'm thinking that all of us do.
That's
all
right.
Humans want to be heard. We want to be
Yeah.
seen. We want to be heard. We want to feel like we matter.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. Yes. And we look to our partners to do that. And it's very, normal that it would break down over years, especially when you're navigating, parenting and, all kinds of things, So I think it's just normal. And I think, if you can be brave enough
Well,
to,
this is the thing that I wanted to ask you about next. Yeah,
oh,
I think being brave is a big part of it. To me, what you're describing sounds very difficult. It's scary. I already mentioned that, but like also time consuming.
yeah,
Like sometimes I don't want to wash the dishes, and sometimes I do not want to have a conversation.
yeah.
So what's the value in it? What is it worth the effort? Because it sounds like a lot of work.
Yes, and it is a lot of work at first, and then it's not. It just becomes a part of you and the way that you speak to each other. And it is
It takes
scary.
a lot of practice. We're
Yeah.
still figuring it
Yeah.
out. We're still using the worksheets for some of our conflicts, but I'll tell you, if we didn't, I
Yeah.
know how it would be.
We would not
wouldn't-
be
We
together.
would not be doing this podcast right now.
No, we would not. We would
So
not
how
be
many
together.
like worksheets do y'all do in a day or a week?
So yes. So no, to answer your question about, you feel like you don't even want to do the dishes. This sounds like too much work. I get that. We both work full time, nonstop when we're at home and when we're not at home.
Mhm.
So we have certain ways of communicating in those
Yeah.
busy moments,
Mhm.
and
And we
but
don't.
what's different is that I love you and respect you more deeply as a result of all these practice sheets and all the worksheets we've been using.
Mhm.
I feel secure. I feel
Mhm.
at ease. Like there's a whole part of me that just,
It's like a big sigh.
it feels good.
Yeah, yeah. But how many worksheets do we do in a week? Well, it depends
Don't
on the week. If
take a
we're
night
really
off.
busy,
Take a night off.
we say that all the time because we know that we need connection time. And we started, oh, guys, there's a free app. It's a Gottman card deck. You can get it from the Play Store. It's a free deck and it gives you like date questions and easy questions and open-ended questions.
Awesome card deck app.
Yes.
Lydia and I used it right away, and it was a way to just break
Sort
the
of
ice
gently enter
Yeah.
very gently.
arena.
You know what we were trying to
Yes.
do? This is directly answers your question, Mary. We made a commitment. Okay, we're going to connect 30 minutes every night. And what we realized are 30 or 15.
We couldn't do that.
We couldn't. It was too much. We had too
You're
much
like,
going on.
"Nope, we're
Too
down
much
to
stuff.
5."
No,
Yeah.
no. So now what we do is we understand that, where we stop projecting, and Keith, told me this, that he stopped projecting onto my silence. So when I'm tired, worn out, when he's tired, worn out, we don't take it personally. We know that it's not about us. And that's part of being self-aware. You own your own stuff. And that's a big necessary ingredient.
That was
to
necessary
it.
for
Yeah.
me. Absolutely.
So we don't, the worksheets, we do them as needed. The one that we do over and over again is really just a communication style. And it's very simple. It's just asking the person, repeating what they said and asking if they feel understood. And then asking, what is most upsetting to you about this? What is this like for you? What do you need? What do you need from me? How can I support you in this? Those are the follow-ups. And then you say, would you like advice or, problem solving? Would you like help with advice or problem solving? And you wait for the yes or the no. And because we talk to each other like that now all the time, We don't have the aftermath after a fight worksheet, but I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll have another fight. And when we do, it's there.
Right. I just have one last question. If your relationship were better, do you think Aaron Rodgers would stay in Green Bay?
Yes,
Oh,
David.
wow.
I think that if we just worked a little harder at one another,
It's a football
Aaron
question.
Rodgers would stay. Yes, David. Yes,
He did renew his country club membership in Green Bay. So
that's the word on the street. And it's all due to us and the work that we've been doing on our relationship.
and tell David we'll be at Lambeau on the 7th.
Yeah.
For practice game.
I think you just did. So
go Pack go.
Well, thank you, Lydia, and thank you to Keith for being here today. And of course, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening, everybody. Gottman card deck.
Thank you, Mary.
Let's see what happens next.
You took my line. Say it again. I like it.
Let's see what happens next.